So like I was saying, it's this sutra जिसकी वजह से ये इसका नाम आया है चैप्टर का.
Okay.
ठीक है. So it says here ज्ञानम te aham savigyanam.
Mm.
So that is Gyan and Vigyan. He's saying that I will teach you this knowledge along with immediate knowledge. So Bhagavan Krishna is telling him that there are two different things. One is Gyan, the other is Vigyan. And you have to learn both. And the difference between Gyan and Vigyan in this case is that Gyan is knowledge about Ishwar. कि चलो मुझे पता है ईश्वर ऐसे है, ये है, वो है. ही अभी तुमसे परे, बट यू नो हिम एज अ थर्ड पर्सन. You are a jiva. That's the Ishwar. You learn about Ishwar and Ishwar's capabilities and all that as a third person, different from you. Vigyan means that this knowledge becomes immediate. That means you begin to say that Ishwar is me only, not anybody else. That's the end stage, when it becomes very natural for you to say कि ईश्वर और मेरे में कोई फर्क नहीं है. मैं समझता हूँ ईश्वर क्या है, but that is me. So you recognize yourself as Ishwar and Ishwar as yourself. That is Vigyanam. That's what he calls the immediate knowledge, aparoksha knowledge. So he's trying to say that here. And see, he is only talking about Gyan, right? He's not talking about anything else that needs to be done. It's just Gyan. At the end of the day, you have to understand this Gyan. You have to be ready for it. You have to have a mind which is committed to yoga, all of those things. All that you need to do, the discipline to get your mind ready. But what you have to understand is Gyan. Gyan about Ishwar. And Gyan about Ishwar as yourself, not as a separate being. The other big thing about this statement is he says, the knowledge knowing which there remains nothing else to be known. This part. This is something which happens again and again in Vedanta. In many Upanishads, you will hear about Vedanta being described like this. That you have this knowledge after which you don't need to know anything more. And he says here, Yat Gyatva, that means having known this, Na iha bhuya anya gyatvam anya gyatvam avishishyate. So, which basically translates to having known this knowledge, you don't need here any other knowledge. That is what I will teach you, and I will teach you avishishyate, meaning without any omission. I'll tell you the whole thing. This is what Bhagwan is saying. So what does he mean that there is this knowledge which, if you learn, nothing else needs to be known? This is basically, if you think about it, if you have, say, the example they give is that of a clay pot. So you have multiple different clay pots. If you know the material they are made of clay. Once you understand what clay is, you understand all the pots. The difference between different clay pots is just nama rupa. But its properties come from clay. In other words, all of them will be of that particular rust color, the clay color. All of them will crack when you drop them, unlike a steel pot which will not crack. But you know it is clay. Once you understand clay, you will know that they will break. All of them will be, slightly khurdra to touch, right? They will be porous. Doesn't matter what their shape is, whether big or small, because you understand the substance. When you understand Brahman, you understand the substance of everything in this world. Because the diversity that we see is only in name and form. So that's what this means. It doesn't mean that you will have all knowledge about everything, all the forms. No. You will not have knowledge about how, everything in this world works. You will not suddenly start speaking Chinese. None of those things. It's not meant like that. What he means to say is you will have knowledge of the fundamental substance, the reality behind every form and everything that you see. That's what is meant by this. Okay? So this is an important one to grasp because you will hear this often as you learn more about Vedanta. And then the final thing in introducing this, Krishna Bhagavan says, Manushyanam sahasra eshu kaschid yatati siddhyate. He's saying, among the Manushas, thousands of Manushas, among Manushyanam मतलब from among Manushas, thousands में से कुछ ही हैं who make yatati, who make the प्रयत्न, जो कोशिश करते हैं to get this knowledge, सिद्धये, सिद्धि की कोशिश करते हैं. So, हजारों मनुष्यों में से there are few who make the effort to gain this siddhi. That's what this line is saying, right? And the next line is saying, yattatam api siddhanam kaschit mam veti tatvatah. That means, yatatam api, amongst those who are making that effort, those siddhas who are making this effort, the seekers who are making this effort, some only, veti means to know, they know my tattvataha. Tattvataha means my actual tattva, my actual reality, this knowledge. So, amongst thousands of people, a rare person makes the effort for moksha, for siddhi. Even among those seekers making effort, only a rare person comes to know me in reality. Now, this can be very badly misconstrued, okay? Because it might say, "Kya fayda humko karne ka?" Though this is so rare. That's not the intention here. The intention is that amongst hundreds and thousands, some make the effort, and you are making the effort. Anybody who's reading the Gita is making the effort. So he's trying to say only few are there like you. But amongst those who are even trying, very few actually get the knowledge. But remember, when he says that, he says, Yattatam api siddhanam. That means from amongst the siddhas, he's already calling you a siddha. That means he's already calling you a jnani, जिसको सिद्धि मिल गई है. Because what he's trying to say is that although you're not a jnani yet, because you're on this road, you started making this effort, you will become a jnani. And Swami Dayanand gives the example here of medical college. Tu gaya hua hai medical college, right? You go there first year, you have 4 or 5 years of study to do. From first year onwards, people will start calling you doctor. Your teachers will start calling you doctor. Your staff, admin, they'll all start calling you doctor. Because they know now you're here. मरते झगड़ते somehow or the other, you will graduate as a doctor. पहुंच ही जाओगे तुम. पहुंच ही जाएगा. मुश्किल होगी. It's not easy. You will have to put in a lot of effort. रात रात पढ़ना पड़ेगा. But पहुंच जरूर जाओगे. There'll be निकल जाओगे. The difference is there in 5 years तुम निकल जाओगे. यहाँ पे there is no time limit. Some people may take 2 years, some may take much longer. But remember, Bhagavan Krishna already has called you a siddha naam. Called you a siddha. Because he says there is no doubt that you will get this knowledge. So that's the key takeaway from this. You're one amongst 1,000 because you've come here in the first place. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be immediate, right? And you might say, amongst all the seekers, what he's trying to say is among all, you'll meet thousands of seekers. Only one will be a jnani of them at any given time. One among thousands will be a jnani at any given time. But you will also become that one. Just a matter of time. And you are guaranteed to become that one at some stage. Okay, so this was the introduction. And these 3 mantras serve as introduction to chapter 7. Chapter 7 is a total of 30 mantras. Okay. ठीक है. So ये इंट्रोडक्शन है. Now we can go on to the actual meat of the section. And हमेशा तो देखेगा Gita, Upanishads, all of them, they have a particular way of teaching or presenting. They say what they have to say in the beginning. The vision is presented right up front. सब कुछ बता देते हैं. Then the later on sutras or mantras, then they start getting deeper and deeper, start explaining it more and more.
Explaining the real context.
लेकिन शुरू में सब बता देंगे. So these four mantras will give you the whole knowledge of Ishwar. But the rest of the chapter will start explaining in deeper and deeper terms. So now what is he saying? So if you see in the my headline, I tried to make a headline here which says Krishna explains his twofold nature. So let's talk about that. Stop me anytime, okay? Because I'm
Yeah,
like I said.
no problem.
So he's starting by saying Bhumir Apo Analo Vayu. Bhumi, Prithvi, Earth.
Earth,
Apo, water. Anal, fire. Vayu, air, hawa. Kham is space.
yes.
Mano, that's man. Buddhir, मतलब बुद्धि. जो ये संधि है, so buddhi eva becomes buddhir eva. Buddhi eva, ch means and. Ahamkar. He is named 8 elements: earth, water, fire, air, space, mind, intellect, right? And indeed the sense of doership, which is ahamkar. This prakriti of mine is divided in an eightfold way, in this way. Iti iyam, me, my, bhinna. भिन्न का मतलब होता है ना डिफरेंट. भिन्ना मीन्स
Different.
डिवाइडेड. प्रकृतिर अष्ट अधा. So my prakriti is divided like this in asht adha, in an eightfold way. Ashtadha. Right? This is what the mantra is saying. And I have to explain this to you because this is a prakriya. This is a prakriya called Srishti Prakriya. And it will take a little while to explain. So I'm going to hold that a little bit. I'll come back to it because I want to take you through the 4 mantras. This prakriya is designed so that you get an understanding of how the Srishti is created and that Brahman is behind all of that. Okay? So we'll come back to that. If we don't have time today, we will come back to it in the next session. Then he goes on to say, Apare iyam tu, this is all sandhi. So tu anyam prakritim vidhi me param. So he's trying to say that this particular prakriti, apara prakriti, apara matlab, this prakriti is an apara, my lower prakriti. Apare em, so this is apara. Where's my cursor gone? Hold on. See, apara em iti. So apara em iti. Sa is just sandhi. Tvanyam, that means tu anyam. So tu means however. This prakriti is my apara prakriti. However, anyam, another prakriti. Anyam prakriti means there's another prakriti. Vidhi me param. So know about that prakriti, my prakriti, me, param, it's called para prakriti. So he's saying that this, what I just explained to you, is my apara prakriti. That means it's my lower prakriti. It's my lower prakriti which is divided into all these different elements and this creates the creation. But know about another prakriti of mine which is my higher prakriti. It's called the para prakriti. Jiva bhuta mahabaho yaya idam dharyate jagat. So it means ये जो प्रकृति है ये जीव और भूता मतलब basically in jivas, in human beings and animals, this prakriti is found, my other prakriti. Mahabhava is just another name for Arjun. Yayedam, ये जो यया मतलब which, by which, through which, idam dharyate jagat, this world is sustained. धार्यते मतलब आधार है जो जिंदगी जो वर्ल्ड का. Jagat is, universe. So he means actually, let me read it from here. Mahabhava, this is my lower Prakriti, whereas please understand the other one, my higher Prakriti, which is the essential nature of the individual. That's what he means, Jiva Bhutam, by which this world is sustained. Dharyate. So let me take a step back now. When Ishwar is saying to Arjun, when Krishna is saying, I'm Ishwar, I'm trying to tell you about my Prakriti, about who I am. Prakriti means nature, right? He's telling Arjun, I have two Prakritis. One Prakriti is my lower Prakriti, which you see as this world around you. Earth, water, fire, air, space, mind, all this, and he explains how those elements transform into the world. That's the Prakriya which I want to take you next time. But essentially, that Prakriti of mine, that part of me transforms itself into this world. And that part of him is also called Maya. That is Maya, his Maya. But in addition to this, my real Prakriti, the real nature, which is my higher nature, is is Para Prakriti, which
Para,
is
para.
Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman. So Ishwar has a twofold, you can look at Ishwar from a twofold perspective. From one angle, what he really is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. But he has a power of Maya. He has a capability called Maya through which he creates this entire world. But like I told you, this entire world which seems to us as objects are names and forms. What is really there which is sustaining it, meaning what is the substance in there which is providing it existence? That is Brahman. Remember we went through that? We said everything is name and form. So Ishwar's higher Prakriti, which is Brahman, Satyam Jnanam Anantam, supports his lower Prakriti. It is the basis of his lower Prakriti. It is the foundation or the adhishthana of his lower Prakriti. That's what he's saying. When he says, Yaya edam dharyate jagat. Yaya, this Prakriti, which one? Idam jagat dharyate. ये जो जगत है, ये जो पूरी यूनिवर्स है, it's supported by this para prakriti of mine. So it's just another way of saying what we went through last time, which is all this that we see around us is name and form, is Maya, is Ishwar. Nothing different from Ishwar, is Brahman. Ishwar and Brahman is the same thing. When you think about Brahman along with Maya, we call it Ishwar. When we think about Saguna Brahman, we call it Ishwar. When we think about Nirgun Brahman, just consciousness, then we call it Brahman. So, all this world is me, but it's mithya, it's name and form. The real substance which is supporting this whole world is my meaning, I'm talking as Christian right now, is my real higher nature, which is Brahman. Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. Now, he's just said this in two lines, right? But, this takes a long time to get. Someone has to unfold it, explain it. Then we have to
Explain.
think about it. Then we have to revisit it over many months till we really get it. But this is the way Gita works, or any of the the Vedanta sutras or Vedanta mantras and everything, texts, they work. Okay, moving on. Okay. Is it okay? Shall we go on to the next one?
Next one.
Okay. So, etad yonini bhutani sarvani iti upadharaya aham kritsanasya jagata prabhava pralayasthatha. So when he says etad yonini, etad means this. Yonini means the yoni, that means the source, the cause. bhutani. So what is it saying? Understand that all beings and elements have their cause in this twofold prakriti. So when he says etad, he means this. That means his twofold prakriti that he's talked about in the previous mantras. It is the yoni. That means it is the cause of bhutani sarvani. Sarvani means all. Bhutani means everything which is there in this world. Elements and jivas. Iti upadharya. That means understand that. This is what I'm saying. So he's trying to tell you, understand that. Iti upadharya. Understand this. That all beings and elements have their cause in this twofold prakriti. That's what this top line is saying. And then the bottom line says, Aham kritsanasya jagataha prabhavaha pralayas Aham, me, kritsanasya, of this whole, kritsana means the whole, of this whole jagat, I am the prabhava and the pralaya, both. In other words, I am the one which has caused this whole jagat. Prabhava is not exactly, Prabhava doesn't exactly mean create. Prabhava means project. Prabhav, right? So I'm the one who's projected this jagat. That means manifested this jagat. And into me, when the pralaya comes, into me this jagat will come back. So I am the one from whom this entire world comes, so too I am the one into whom everything resolves. So this is saying from this entire world comes, but it's really, it has a sense of projection. That's what this mantra is trying to say. And we talked about this last time too. We said that this is all Nama Rupa. It's all about manifestation and resolution back, unmanifesting. So all this knowledge already exists everywhere in Maya, in Ishwar. He just gradually unfolds it. So it's being manifested out. We think everything is new, but it's basically a manifestation of existing knowledge, Ishwar's knowledge. And then when the pralay comes at some stage, when he goes to sleep, in other words, it gets all resolved back into Ishwar. And then it remanifests again, then it gets resolved back again. That's what this is saying. And again, this has to be unfolded. It's a very big thing that he's saying. Etad yonini bhutani sarvani. Right? You have to understand this. Why is it that all elements have me as their cause? So we touched upon this in the last two sessions, but I think we'll have to, over time, we'll go through it again. And then the final one is Mataha Parataram Na Anyat Kinchid Asti Dhananjaya. So Dhananjaya is just Arjun. Mai Sarvamidam Prottam Sutre Mani Gana Iva. So Mataha, that means, this Mataha Parataram Na Anya Kinchit Asti. That means there is no other cause or Mataha, no other vision. Parataram, para means always higher, like Apara Prakriti, right? So there is no other cause superior to me. That's what he's trying to say. This is O Dhananjaya. So this is the first line. And the second line is, all this, Mai Sarvam Idam, in me, Sarvam Idam, all this, Prottam. Prottam is like when you weave a cloth, so the warp and the woof, that's called Prottam. Sutre Mani Ganaiva. So it's woven into me just like a string of beads is woven in through a sutra. So just like a sutra runs through beads of multiple colors, right? That's how I exist in this world. All of these beads, different things that you see, different variety of things, they all are held together by me, the sutra. Right? It's just a way of saying it.
Yeah.
But the idea is that I sustain everything. I am the substance behind everything. I am what is really there. What you see is just name and form. Well, thank you. So that's these are the four mantras which I want to take. I mean, I'm surprised that we were actually able to go through them,
Go
but
through.
there's a lot to
Within time.
unpack in this. But I thought it'll be nice for you to actually see it in the Gita, because then it's not just me saying something. Then it
Yeah.
becomes more powerful. Even though
Very
our
powerful
Sanskrit is kind of
mantras,
jodi
and
jodi.
lot of knowledge has been packed into these mantras.
Exactly. Exactly.
Really, we have to go deep into it to understand it. ठीक है, I got an idea of what they're trying to say,
Yes.
but to get convinced and go deep into it.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. Like I said, ये तो these that's why I think these four mantras are really to understand Ishwar, these are the critical mantras. जो आगे आएगा इसके बाद, it's all an expansion of this.
Expansion of this.
Yeah, more detailed understanding from different angles.
Hmm.
They'll say the same thing,
Hmm.
you know, and things like that. So the thing which is still we haven't covered from here is the eightfold Ashtadha. You know, Ashtadha, Ashtadha. This eightfold Prakriti, जो इसका है सृष्टि. We can cover this next time because I don't want to. It's describing how basically it's saying जो मेरी माया है, it is it goes from avyaktam, which is unmanifest. First, it creates mahat, then ahamkar, then it creates the five subtle elements: earth, water, fire, air, space. And then those five subtle elements go through a process of grossification. And it's called Panchakriya or something. I forget the name. And through that they become gross elements. The subtle elements become gross, tangible elements. Sthul, gross. And it's those gross elements that you see in the world around you. जो तू देखता है, जिसको तू फील कर
Hmm.
सकता है, टच कर सकता है, वो सब ग्रॉस है, राइट? इट्स
Gross
लाइक
elements.
gross elements हैं. They are being formed by their subtle elements. The subtle elements are formed by Ahamkar and Mahat and all that. And those all have been formed by Avyakta, which is Maya. They've been formed by Maya. So he's just trying to tell you the transformation process, how Maya goes through it. But he's also saying that so everything that you see has been formed through Maya. Everything that you see is my lower Prakriti, my Apara Prakriti.
Apara,
And this whole Apara Prakriti is sustained by my Para Prakriti,
para, para Prakriti.
which is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. So the substance which sustains this whole everything is that Brahman. And this whole everything is nothing but me, just the Maya form of me. It's the Maya part of me, which is this world that you see of shapes. And the reality substance in it is the actual, my true nature, the higher form of me, which is Brahman. That's what Ishwar is saying. So Ishwar is a combination, he's saying, of Brahman, which is his higher Prakriti. Actually, that is what it is. But in addition to his Brahman Prakriti, he has this capability called Maya. And this Maya is what creates this world. But it doesn't create it on its own. It doesn't create, there is nothing in Maya to create the world on its own. The sustenance of it is all Brahman. The substance in it is all Brahman. Maya is just name and form, it's just a projection. So it takes a while to get this. But this is how in Gita he explains it. I like that because, he's just simply saying, think about me. If you ask me for my nature, मेरी प्रकृति क्या है, तो आप पूछ रहे हो मेरे से अर्जुन, मैं तुमको बताता हूँ मेरी प्रकृति दो दो हिस्सों में है. टू फोल्ड. दो हिस्सों में नहीं, टू फोल्ड. The higher Prakriti, the real one, is Para. The lower Prakriti, Apara, is what creates this world. That's just name and form, Maya. So basically, what he's saying is you have to understand my higher nature. The lower nature you can see here all around me. That's the Maya you see. But what is behind it? It's my higher nature which is sustaining it. That's what you need to know. So he's coming back to the idea you have to know Brahman. The whole of Vedant is the central theme of Vedant is getting to know Brahman. In fact, he says it, Swamiji explains it. He said, the apara, the lower prakriti, is actually the cause of samsara and bondage. Right? That's what
Hmm.
that's what causes us the bondage. हम ये objects देखते हैं, we want those objects, we are bonded. The higher prakriti is, if you know my para prakriti, that leads to liberation. So just like we say, हमारी lower prakriti is my body and mind as a jiva, my higher prakriti is my atma. Similarly for Bhagwan, for
Hmm.
Ishwar, the lower prakriti, you can say, is everything, including all the jivas and all the gross elements. And the higher prakriti is Brahman. And that Brahman and Atma are the same. That higher prakriti of Ishwar is the same as my higher prakriti. That's why he says, कहाँ मिलती है यह higher prakriti? Jiva bhutam. This higher prakriti is found in the essential nature of the individual, of the jiva. He's repeating what we've always been saying about that Brahman is the same as Atma, Tattvamasi, right? So he's also saying the same thing, but just from a different angle. And ultimately he's saying, you are that Ishwar, Tattvamasi. Chandogya में ये कहते हैं Tattvamasi.
Hmm.
So I think this was quite a lot. We went through it pretty quickly. It's just you and I.
नहीं ठीक है, it's fine. बाकी वही है. We'll discuss each one more in depth and detail
Yeah.
to get the hang of it. So superficially, skeletally, we have touched, I think, quite a lot of things
Yeah.
today in all these 7 shlokas.
Yeah.
So next time we'll go more into the detail of each one and see.
Okay. So if you don't have any questions, let me just stop the recording.
Ah, stop.